live. Let's make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble. We will unpause and then repause. BW coming in with the first Rumble rant. What you think about polls showing young Republicans are half not supporting Israel, Pew and YouGov. Does this mean we won't be allies soon? Also, I am disturbed by the number of medical professionals who think conservatives should die. How many patients do you think have been murdered for their beliefs? Conservatives, be careful when you are a patient or family of a patient in these medical facilities. As to the former, I don't think it speaks to a government level, like a military/diplomatic alliance thing, because that's would require an enormous amount of footwork for people to change U.S. policy towards Israel/Palestine. So I don't think that particularly is imminent. And I do believe that there are probably people who have views that are known in their local area. So maybe the doctor even knows of them, who have been denied maybe 100% in the treatment department. That's probably happened. I would be a little bit reluctant to go to the doctor, for instance, in a liberal stronghold, San Francisco. I've got a flesh wound, and I don't need medical attention. I'll take care of it myself. I've done that before. Several times when I was free bleeding. I know how to dress a wound. It's not actually that hard to do medical stuff. Disclaimer, I'm not a medical professional. Let's get to the main news of the day, at least at the moment, because it's a fast-moving news cycle. Anything can and does happen. New York judge tosses terrorism charges against Luigi Mangione. Lets murder count stand. He's facing 9 other counts as well. Don't worry, he's not getting off. Luigi will be in prison. That will happen. It is an inevitability. There's no possibility that they don't manage to put him away. This has to do with charge redundancy, though. When I first saw it, the first breaking news simply said that these charges had been dropped, and I'm like, motherfuck, so you're only going after him for second-degree murder when it was purely premeditated, and we already know this? Then come to find out the reason that they were dropped is mostly procedural, because there's a separate federal case bringing those same charges, so there's no need to prosecute him at the state level. Personally, though, I believe they should just throw the book at him at the state level. It's quite clear that this was terroristic in nature. The judge used the concept that under New York law, it wasn't to terrorize the public that he randomly shot a pharma CEO, despite the fact that quite clearly terror was the name of the game, at least among those who work in the pharmaceutical industry. Maybe not the public at large, but that's like saying, hey, this Islamic terrorist is only targeting Jews, so we're not going to give him a terror charge because all he did was burn a synagogue to the ground. So, he's only targeting rabbis and stuff. That's not, we can't hold terroristic charges against him because the main public wasn't particularly at risk. That's a little bit of a legal stretch in my personal opinion. But, New York has some zany laws, so don't put it past them. So that's the main news of the day. And I don't personally agree with it. I think they should have just gone ahead with the charges. What happens if the charges flop? Well, that doesn't really matter because he's also got 10 other charges against him. So, he still would be facing possibly life imprisonment. And so it doesn't make any sense not to at least pitch the ball. Swamp Donkey. I'm calling it. The right doesn't have the leadership to enact any real change. Pam Bondi needs to be removed. Agreed. Pam Bondi needs to go. That was definitely not the best hire that Trump made for his administration. Hopium Gardener, the left. But you celebrated George Floyd dying. No one celebrated some fucking dolt hitting the Darwinism Award on his own supply. We said he wasn't worth lionizing and burning cities for. Yeah, I know. They're living in an alternate reality. Copium Poppies. Sticks, at the end of the stream yesterday, you made statements in response to my Rumble rants misrepresenting what I was saying and ended the stream before I had a chance to clarify what I was saying. It appears you are reading them as self-contained Rumble rants, not taking into account previous rants or your responses to them in the stream. I was referencing my previous rants and your responses to them. I was not calling for violence against leftoids by individual citizens and vigilantes. I know that you wouldn't. And I was pretty clear. I was talking about using the government's monopoly on violence to remove the left as a threat, hence the word execute, executions of criminals. are carried out by the government to both our physical safety and freedom, as we have mechanisms in place, even if not often or ever used, to do that. Not able to listen to the stream live today as I'm at work function, but just wanted to say that because I'd rather not have the FBI showing up in my house because of yesterday's rants being misrepresented. Yes, I know that you're not a violent person. That's fairly self-evident. So I wouldn't worry. Barack Obama. Oh, fuck off. No. Can fuck your mama, though, probably. Yeah, we're going to talk about that Charlie Kirk Discord, too. First, let's get to our sponsors as people pile in here, though. We've got cultivated-mind.com, where you can get delicious mushroom pills. I'll take another one, actually, right now as I speak. You can enhance your performance. It's definitely good for your energy level. Just ask me, or a number of other people who have actually been buying them. And now you can give it to your doggos as well, which is a good idea. They smell good, unlike every other dog treat in the friggin' world. So they're made with 6 different dual-activated mushroom extracts. They work pretty well. Now, this is not the kind of mushroom that'll get you high. It is the kind of mushroom that'll give you a good burst of energy, though. And then we've got BiltongUSA.com. Anton. Good morning, Anton. Here, we'll dip the pill in the biltong, maybe. I'm just joking. I'll take the pill first. BiltongUSA.com. Anton can hook you up with all sorts of meats. Biltong, anytime Anton is here and or biltong is mentioned, we must take a little dab of that. Thankfully, I've got another container over there that's still full. I run out pretty quick because of doing that. He can also get you Marmite and Vegemite, Stick, Sex, and Hammer cups and tumblers and shirts, as well as a wide assortment of things that used to be alive but now are just tasty. Then we've got jamandbean.com, that is jamnbean.com, where you can get delicious teas, Yunnan Jig, the Healer, Jolly Peach, the chai tea. There's all sorts of stuff. I haven't even looked at the entire selection. I think more are still being added. And also coffee. You can get Clanker Blem, which is my personal favorite. Still got one more bag left at the moment. Sometimes I give them as gifts, and everyone really, really enjoys that. Sent some to a friend, and her parents were like, yeah, this is a great coffee. You can't argue with free, by the way. Use code STICKS on these sites for a discount. Oh, yes, the Bovrite. I can't forget that. It's like it's a new channel meme. It is delicious. Good added to a stir fry. Good added to a soup. Good on toast. You can probably put it on a bagel. I prefer my bagels with extra cream cheese myself, but yeah. Now, let's see here. Yes, to Grease's crust, yes. Robert Redford has died, which is unfortunate. Of course, you may have known him from Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I think most people have seen that movie. But he was in a bunch of others. Later on, actually tonight, I'm going to watch All Is Lost. That's a movie. Apparently, he only utters 50 words in the entire movie, and he's the only actor. But it got critical and audience acclaim, so I'm assuming that it's a good movie. It's very, very rare these days that a movie gets both the audience and the critics aboard. When those two things are true, it's probably really good. So, I'm definitely going to be watching that later. Styx gives his girlfriend mushroom doggo snacks. They did smell good enough to eat, I will say that. I don't know if they're edible for humans, though, so I, held off. Windmill, yes, Jeremiah Johnson, that's another good one. Swamp Donkey, Styx, did you watch Sam Hind's newest video? It's actually really good. We should hold every leftist to their own rules. No, I didn't, actually. I didn't see it. But yeah, we should hold them to their own rules, but there are also more strategic measures to be taken, such as letting them go down spiraling in the toilet, and you're sitting there saying, what the fuck? And people who are on the fence before are going to tend to gravitate towards you. People who are outside of the far, like the commie left, are now conceived of as a little bit more sane than before, by comparison. Charlie Kirk, murder suspect, appeared to confess to killing on Discord, company says. Yes, Discord finally wading into this. And now we had another update earlier saying that there were numerous, more than 20 individuals on the Discord actually as well. So they're going to be questioned by the FBI for what little that's worth, by the way. We know that he's the killer, so he's going away. That's number one. So this is sort of like basically looking to see, did anyone encourage him to do what he did? Did they aid him in some way? Because there was another thing someone posted the other day, and I don't know if this is true, but they posted, of course, Tyler Robinson is the one that killed Charlie Kirk. They posted that a number of vehicles with out-of-state license plates had been pulling up to the house and leaving multiple times, actually, over the prior days when this happened. So that might be something, I don't know if they're going to like consult local Ring camera footage or something like that. They're probably going to have to look into that too. So this is going to be a very prolonged case, just putting it that way. It's entirely possible that he did not act alone. We know who took the shot, but we don't know if anyone else gave him any logistic support or something like that. Apparently, he said on Discord, "Hey guys, I have bad news for you all," read a message from an account that allegedly belonged to Robinson, according to the spokesperson of a law enforcement source. "It was me at UVU yesterday. I'm sorry for all of this." And there are other posts that have been gone over. We're not exactly sure what's going on. Again, the fog of war has kicked in. So both explanations for why the shooting happened and explanations for how it happened, they are very much up in the air. And they typically are. With some major event like this, everyone wants to get a word in edgewise, number one. And also everyone wants to weigh in on possible political motivations and things like that, number two. It happens all the time, actually. Tarred and feathered. Sources said 2 shots. I only heard 1 myself. Yeah, another thing is a second shooter theory. So you've got the second shooter theory, you've got the patsy theory, you've got the dude standing right to the right of Charlie Kirk. He's actually the one that took the shot theory. You've got the Mossad theory, and then you've got the left-wing violence, and then you've got the MAGA plant theory. You've got a lot of competing theories. Unfortunately, the FBI is mainly handling it, so we may or may not get the true story anytime soon. Could be that they do a cover-up. He's on suicide watch too, so I hope that the cameras outside of the cell are working properly, because we've seen some problems before. Epstein. It's happened a number of times. Yeah, if he's on suicide watch, they take him off suicide watch and then he hangs himself miraculously. Well, the cameras turn off and everything. If the deep state really wanted to flex, and it is part of conspiracy, that's what they would do. They'd make it look just like what happened with Epstein, and then they would chuckle as the public, knew what had happened, but it would be so monumentally terrifying that it could happen that they get demoralized and think, well, there's nothing I can do about that. Their eyes glaze over and they don't even want to talk about it. This happens with major events, by the way. Simple psyop. Swamp Donkey. The It Was Israel take is kind of wild. By no means am I pro-Israel, but it just seems like the dude was crazy. I think that he was both crazy and incited by his hatred for people that happen to have opinions different from his own. I think that it's both. So he's capable of being simultaneously a criminal lunatic and still at the same time having a political animus, which appears to definitely be the case. Easter Sunday. Stick should make a show with egg white in his hair, make it all stand up. I can always, do the 80s hair thing. I'm just not inclined to do so. Yeah, imagine having to comb that out after it starts coming down. Straight up metal detecting. What do you think of deja vu? I've had many. I get it all the time. By the way, then there was that other video where it looked like a dude was taking down equipment in the area where Charlie Kirk was shot. And they hadn't even set up like the yellow police tape or anything like that, and it's not exactly clear what the hell happened there. It looked like evidence tampering or something. Lightning stab. I just got here. What are we on? the Charlie Kirk assassin. He definitely was on that particular Discord that they were musing over, and now the FBI is attempting to interview all the other people on the Discord server. Whether they'll be able to reach them all, of course, it remains to be seen. Another thing that remains to be seen, did these individuals aid him in any way? Did they encourage him in any way? That could be incitement. They could get charged as well. And then there was the other story about out-of-state's license plates on cars that were going to the property and then leaving on a regular basis for several days leading up to it. Now, this could just be like, his parents had friends over or some shit. So it's not necessarily indicative of any form of guilt. But it is something that's going to be looked into. Whether or not it'll be looked into properly remains to be seen. This is the FBI that we're talking about. Bobby Yosticks, the quartering is scamming his viewers and cackling about it. I find that hard to believe. Nah, I talked to the dude plenty of times, and I never got any scammy feelings from him. He's just trying to build a fucking coffee company. Technically, that makes me his competitor because one of my sponsors is Jammin' Beans. That's pretty funny, actually. Spider Eternal, you hear about the old dude that initially claimed to be the shooter? He confessed he did it as a distraction for the shooter to get away. The police found CP on his phone. What are the chances? Wait, they did? Somebody get me a fucking link. Did they find child porn on that old dude's phone? Because initially everyone thought he was the shooter. Maybe he confessed because he's just a lunatic or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if this is true, but I need a source, and I need it right quick. Here, I'm going to go right to my Twitter DMs, just in case somebody can get that to me. But no, it wouldn't surprise me in the least. Oh yeah, we got to talk about Bethesda, by the way. Bethesda Gaming Studios. Bethesda decided to respond to criticism by posting a little clip from, I guess, a new Indiana Jones game. I don't know if it's open world. If it is, I'd probably play it, actually, but it's not open world. I'm not into linear game styles anymore. RPGs, open world shooters, that's the only thing that, or something strategy-wise, like in Victoria 2 or something, or Oregon Trail 2. I was going to play it last night. I didn't get the time to do so. I had other things I had to do. So probably tonight. We're going to Sacramento, everyone. Not that you'd want to go there today, but back then it must have been pretty great. We're going to Portland. Yeah. Well, your grandchildren won't be very happy, but, at least you farmed your corn and shit like that. Or great-great-grandchildren, I suppose it would be. Anyway, Bethesda decided to taunt criticism by posting the Good Kitty video, which, many of you have probably seen. And it's Indiana Jones petting the cat and saying, well, you don't care about those fascists anyway. A little bit on the nose, considering the timing. I think there's probably a reason for that. But it was bad. It was bad enough that Bethesda removed it. They took it down. But the internet is forever. People had already archived it, clipped it, and done everything else to it. So it's still there. It's kind of funny, though. I mean, this isn't an unforgivable sin moment for Bethesda, because, I'm still waiting for the next Elder Scrolls title. I will probably play it. I'm definitely waiting for the next Fallout title. I will definitely play it. The Indiana Jones game, I don't know. I don't know anything about it myself. I just thought that it's a little bit on the nose that they're posting this at this particular time yesterday. And then they decide to take it down. They took it down because they got absolutely flamed. So, yeah, they made a big oopsie. Sometimes that happens. And keep in mind, Bethesda tends to be one of the good guys of the gaming world. Because, unlike some gaming studios, they don't give a shit if you give out mods for their games, and in fact, they encourage it. And their business model, I think, is that they'll release a game that's structurally more or less complete. And then they'll wait, and they'll see what modders mod. What can we improve upon in the next game? They certainly did this from Fallout 3 to Fallout 4, absolutely. One of their obsessions was player housing. And so people I know that I did this for many happy hours. I would collect shit, and then I would decorate my Megaton home, And I wouldn't even be like going off shooting things. I'd just be carefully grabbing objects and putting them in their right place and making it look kind of more like a real place, if that makes sense. Making it look like it was actually inhabited or inhabitable. And it was fun. But there were really only 2 player houses in the game. I mean, well, technically with the add-ons, there's a couple more, but technically in the base game, there's only 2. So Bethesda looked at the mods because there were so many of them and said, well, one thing that we need to do is expand the ability to make player housing. And they went above and beyond on that with the settlement system. And then you had the weather and stuff like that and crafting and stuff. So Bethesda actually does a good job generally, but this is definitely an L for them. More than a little bit. Spacco, they don't make any good strategy games anymore. There are some. I also like Total War Napoleon. As well as there's a major overhaul, a huge mod for it, and so it's completely reimagined. It has some issues, but I like both the regular game and the upgraded version. I didn't like. I tried to play Victoria 3. I didn't really like it. It doesn't have the same feel as Victoria 2. Also, one fun thing you can do is play the original first release of Victoria 2 without any of the add-ons. So no Heart of Darkness or anything like that. If you play it like that, usually the economy gets all fucky at some point, like 1.3. The economy will collapse randomly. Rebels will rise up randomly. Nations will fall apart for no reason. Anything can happen in that game. Oh, it was so fun. Like in one game I played, China became a superpower fairly early on and started overrunning most of Asia. Nobody could stop them because they've got so much manpower. It was really funny. That was a fun game. I like Age of Empires and stuff like that. Apache, Bethesda are one of the worst game devs ever. They release incomplete games and bank on modders to fix their broken game. No love lost with the tweet. Yeah, see, that though is one of their successes because they don't have to employ those extra resources to make the game more or less stable and complete, and then modders will fix it. And it's seamless, so. Hey Sticks, is that a Knights Templar cross I see you wearing? No, I believe it's Legion of Merit or something like that. Bethesda, it just works. Yeah, that's basically their moniker. The Guardian view on the UK's dangerous moment as Labour falters, the far right mobilizes. Yeah, they're responding to Tommy Robinson managing to get well more than 110,000 people there for his rally. That was more than 110,000. I would put it closer to 250,000 or thereabouts. He says millions, it's not that high, but it's definitely way above 110,000. It's one of the biggest political rallies in recent history in the UK, actually. I think maybe some of the Brexit stuff may have been bigger, but this definitely comes close. It's funny because this entire thing is just one long spew. This is, again, this is from The Guardian. If you look it up, all it is trying to combine the rise of the right in the UK, where people have been dispossessed, they've had problems with their Labour government because it's completely incompetent and hates its own country, and so they're elevating, other people to the fore, basically, to try and fix the problem. But their only response is to say, oh my god, there's like MAGA hats here, and Trumpism has come to the UK, it's terrible. And by the way, Tommy Robinson, totally a Nazi, even though he's actually a Zionist, if I remember correctly. And things like that. And it's fine. White nationalist myth of engineered demographic change. Well, it's true. There are people that are literally arguing for it. They're literally organizing for it. You look at tweets from people who agree with that sort of thing. It's not exactly all that uncommon. I see people on a regular basis responding to commentators on Twitter and other places saying, well, you white people, so terrible, and saying, well, basically it's like the great replacement theory isn't real, but if it were, it would be a good thing. We've seen that basic summary before now, haven't we? Now, critical race theory isn't being taught in schools, but if it was, that would be a positive change. You remember that period of time. Huh. I should write a part 2 on critical race theory. That would be fun. Right now I'm busy doing morbid stories. By the way, I'm half done with the work. Oh yeah, I think that a lot of you are going to like that. It's not just morbidity this time, it's also an enormous overlapping layer of sarcasm. Misner Flux, Bethesda also fired Jeremy Soule, who was Me Too not long ago. Hopefully they can salvage the series without a savant of the music industry. Black Bull, how is Paul Pelosi attacker right wing? I hear this from all news outlets. Yeah, they're trying to claim that the dude who took the hammer and attacked Paul Pelosi was like a MAGA hat wearer. In reality, it was his gay lover. That was a tryst. They had a lover's quarrel, and he attacked him. This is self-evident. Come on, dude. You think that Paul Pelosi is getting his rocks off inside of Nancy Pelosi? Do you really think that that's a thing at this point? Yeah, that'd be wonderful. Okay, here. Yeah, he has to put on mining equipment just to go inside. She probably forces him to do that from time to time, just as punishment. As punishment, when Paul is bad, he gets spanked and has to wee-wee in the corner like a dog, and then she forces him to lick her sarlacc pit or something like that. I'm going to make you all get bulimia, by the way, talking about that. Paul Pelosi is yeah, that was a gay lover's dispute. There's no possibility in the world that that was like a MAGA hat-wearing Republican. They're trying to equate that to actual political violence. And that's why they're doing it. They're trying to cast people who are outside of the left off as hypocrites. Because they're like, well, you're complaining about political violence when Charlie Kirk gets literally killed. But then you were all laughing when Paul Pelosi got hammered in the head. He didn't die. There's no evidence of a political motive. Probably a gay lover's tryst. And most people weren't even laughing about it. They were just saying, oh, haha, Paul is apparently gay. They were pointing out what was fairly obvious to the average person. Yeah, imagine this is the color of Nancy Pelosi's cunt drippings, probably. It might be more like the Marmite though, because that has a little bit of an off-putting, slightly sour taste. He's like, Nancy, please put your clothes back on. Gert W. Will you come play Slaughterama with Sleazy P. Martini and the Crackheads Monday and Friday nights, pretty please? Slaughterama, is that a game or is that like a show he does? Yeah, I'd be game sometime. You gotta realize though, I've already got a very, very packed schedule at the moment. World Citizen is begging for no more. Yeah. Yeah, Nancy Pelosi is a very strange individual. I can't imagine what possessed him to marry her. I think it's probably a business marriage. He's like, well, this chick's going far, and she'll pay the bills, and so I can just go gallivant around, have gay sex, and then once in a while I have to make an appearance with her, because she just wants, like, to shop around for a husband, basically. To make herself look more normal than she actually is. Girl of the Valley. Slaughterama is a game show. Huh. That sounds fun. Tommy, please show mercy on New Orleans sticks. Oh yeah, Gaza City has been invaded by ground. It's funny because I'm not seeing a lot of headlining news actually about this. On many of the major legacy media channels, the corporate press, probably because it's been all blocked out by Charlie Kirk, Luigi Mangione, and a few other things. So it's almost like people have forgotten that there's a major war going on over there. But Israel is bombarding them, troops have been sent in. So now the last place that Hamas feasibly could hide, to any great degree, is being overrun as we speak. Unfortunately, the first thing that they'll probably do when they're totally cornered is execute all of the hostages. How wonderful. How lovely. How helpful. Hamas and Israel will both be responsible fundamentally for that happening because the U.S. has tried to broker some sort of negotiation, at least to clear out the hostages. And it seems like Netanyahu once again has jumped the gun and said, fuck you, and is ignoring the Trump administration in order to conduct its ground assault. What I'm wondering is where all the people fleeing are going to go to. There is nowhere. They are completely surrounded. They're surrounded on one side by the sea, another side by a bunch of walls and barriers and shit. There's nowhere for the people of Gaza to go at this point. You don't have to be Team Palestine, because I'm not, in order to understand the gravity of the situation. UN report just got put out actually the other day, declaring that indeed Israel is engaged in genocide with over 10% of Palestinians dead or injured. While it may not actually fundamentally coincide with the dictionary definition of a true genocide, it's definitely, there are crimes being committed there. Not just by Israel, by the way, by Hamas certainly as well. It's not like Hamas are good people. I see some of you like, hey, praise Hamas, they're fighting the evil Zionists. You do realize that many of you people, you're like, you got pink hair and you're gay. They would throw rocks at you, so just saying. Oh, that was funny too, actually. That reminds me of something. It's not related to this, but it's something that it bears mentioning. The other day, I saw somebody post a meme, and it was like, it was Christians stoning a woman and talking about that, and how evil, Charlie Kirk is because he was supporting, anti-women's rights, or something like that, something retarded. And I thought about pointing out, I didn't bother because you can't reason with these people at this point. I made a video on that this morning. I was pointing out which group of people in the world is currently still stoning women the most. Well, once you answer that question, you'll understand why the meme was stupid. Hamas are to Arabs as the left are to MAGA. I don't know if that's a full equivalency, but yeah, Easter Sunday, I mean, there is a difference. There's a difference between Hamas and somebody who simply says, yeah, I believe in Allah, and then they eat a BLT. And by the way, I have known people who practice Islam who eat pork and stuff like that. It's just basically, it's cultural Islam. It's similar to like, hey, my parents were Christian, my grandparents were Christian, so I'm a Christian, or something like that, and they don't really think too much about it. Their Bible has dust on it, and they say the Lord's Prayer, basically. And they go to a church on Christmas and Easter. That was how my upbringing was. I considered myself a Christian simply because, hey, it's a Christian family. But it wasn't particularly religious. Spider Eternal, link in your DMs in the chat for the false shooter CP thing. Okay, we're going to get to something here that might be quite interesting. Thank you, Spider Eternal. Let's see. What? I guess this is real. KSL.com. Orem. Police say that a Salt Lake City man, who was no stranger to the state's political scene, claimed responsibility moments after the shooting death of conservative activist Charlie Kirk in an attempt to draw attention from the real shooter. The arrest also sparked a child pornography investigation. George Hodgson Zinn, 71, was booked into Utah County Jail for investigation of obstruction of justice and sexual exploitation of a minor on Monday, following a few days at the hospital. Newly released police documents also detail more of what happened that led to his arrest at Utah Valley University, which sparked a firestorm on social media. So apparently he claimed credit to try to give the shooter time, which seems to have worked, at least for a while. His life is, by the way, completely over. I guess he figures I'm 71, I don't care if I go to prison, and I'll be dead soon anyway. And I guess they probably searched through his phone and found unfortunate material. So, yeah, leftoids. Hey, you're partnered with pedophiles. Oh, wait, we already knew that. We've known that for quite some time. I'm going to have to docket that for a standalone video tomorrow, assuming that there's any updates. George Hodgson, just a sec. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I'll docket that, and I'll keep an eye on the story in case we get anything else tomorrow. Otherwise, I'll recap that on a main video. Why does this not surprise me, by the way? So yeah, Israel has launched a ground incursion into Gaza. Tarred and feathered, Grandpa Bob could kick that old man's ass. Oh yes, he could. Yeah, he was in the military and spent most of his life hiking, trapping, and hunting and things like that, and built his own house. So yeah, yeah, pretty skilled individual. Grandpa Bob is also a fixture of this channel. That's what I'm saying. It's too late to cry cancel culture. Why is Mug always expected to take the high road? I would ask the same question. Cancel culture can work in both ways, and I warned about this for years. Liberals and leftists paid me no attention. I said, look, you're opening up this huge censorship-based front. You're going to cut off your nose to spite your face, and you don't understand what you're doing. I see the right wing almost kind of sort of doing the same thing right now, although I would point out that there's definitely a differentiation between someone who's employed, like as a judge, a cop, something like that, where you want as little bias as possible, or they're publicly funded, or they're inciting violence, like literally, and somebody simply making crude comments. I don't think that people should be censored or debanked or fired simply for making what other people conceive of as offensive comments. Somebody does the ding dong, the witch is dead, haha, Charlie Kirk is gone thing. While it might be disfavorable, it is free speech, and I mean, unless that person at some point might be providing me some taxpayer-funded service or something like that, it doesn't really bother me. So I would warn people on the right, don't get engaged in the same kind of toilet spiraling behavior that the left is currently in, because the reason why they're trying to antagonize you is because they realize, optically speaking right now, they are losing badly. They realize that the average independent voter is not particularly on board with their response. When you make a bunch of TikTok videos dancing around and laughing, and trampling on the U.S. flag, while you've got a Photoshop picture of Charlie Kirk in the background with his tongue sticking out and X's over his eyes and blood spurting out of his neck or something like that, you're probably not winning that many congregants. I remember back when I used to be called a pinko, actually. Early on, my first foray into political debate and stuff like that was, and I've always been anti-censorship to the max, so I've been a purist on that issue since a very young age. In fact, since I was in the single-digit age. I used to complain about rules and stuff like that and demand justifications for why they existed on a regular basis. Even forming my own language creoles and teaching them to friends. I've been doing this for a long time, everyone. I have great fun doing it. But anyway, with regards to this particular... just a sec. BW, I know I sound like a summer child here, but I got stressed now. I realize we are second-class citizens as right-wingers. I didn't know before Trump. Yeah, I'm not a right-winger, so I don't feel the feel. I feel that everyone wants to abuse free speech. That's the whole problem. You shouldn't be calling for censorship at all. Now, again, there's a difference between terroristic threats, incitement, things like that, heckler's veto, and lawful speech. And that lawful speech, if objectionable, really should only be policed at all if it has to do with someone who's being paid by the taxpayers, so that's important, or they're in a position of legal or judicial authority of some sort. Then it becomes a problem, like that judge that got that got shit-canned a couple days ago. Well, yeah, I used to get called a pinko. When I first got onto the internet and started doing anything of a political nature, at first it was mainly anti-Bush stuff because of the war. And, I would spar with people who probably some of them might be clankers at the moment. That would be funny. Hey, weren't you that moron from Facebook from 2008? That would be hilarious, actually. Weren't you that fucking Obama lover? I wouldn't call myself a former Obama lover, but I did support him over, the obvious worst of the two evils. John McClane. Yeah. See, when somebody's a warmonger like John McCain, then saying, hey, it's okay that he's dead, that's okay. But Charlie Kirk, as far as I know, never went to war and gassed people or started firing, white phosphorus as people. Will Gooding, yep, as per KSL News, the old dude confessed to being a distraction for the real shooter and is being investigated for child exploitation. Yeah, that's going to be the main video for tomorrow, I feel. Likely. Yeah, but there's a big difference between incitement and lawful speech. And the law makes this differentiation. By the way, again, we have to bring up briefly Pam Bondi saying, well, there's a difference between free speech and hate speech. No, there's not. Not unless that speech is deliberately targeting a person, harassment, or designed to cause human life to end or get maimed, or property damage, something like that. And of course, then again, the heckler's veto, spamming, botting, things like that are not protected because they're non-speech. Muddy Drip, can you imagine the pain the dad feels sending your son to his most likely death? He did the right thing, though. Yeah, I mean, the world would be a better place if John McCain had been, killed in combat, probably. But that's the thing. He's a severe warmonger who helped to cause the deaths of millions of people. That's different from somebody hurting people's fifis by saying unpopular things on a stage. These two they're not even apples to oranges. It's more like apples to the microphone next to me. I can try to eat the microphone, probably not a great idea. And not high in fiber either. We've got some interesting science news too, actually. Salt can turn frozen water into a weak power source. Apparently, according to this new study, if you take a little tiny cone of ice, which is partially salt, so it's a saline solution, and you freeze it, and then you bend the cone by mechanical function, you can actually create a low voltage from it. Now, this is not practicable for any real-world scenario. Apparently, you'd have to have, enough cones to fill this house in order to charge a smartphone, so the technology is very much in its infancy. But I thought that it was really fun. Apparently what happens is because the ice tends to form effectively a capillary function with the brine that's frozen locked inside of it, that will go from one end to the other, creating a charge differential, cations, and that will create electricity. Again, it's a very, very small amount. 2,000 cones could produce 2 volts or enough electrical potential to power a small red LED. So you got a ways to go before that is actionable in any way, shape, or form. And we've got plenty of other sources of power, so I don't think that this is going to catch on. But I do look forward to the day that some zany YouTuber or TikToker or something with a home laboratory decides to create a machine like this and say, look, I can create power with ice and salt. The problem is that you need a mechanical action to bend the cones. Well, that requires an energy input. So you're not getting anywhere near as much energy back out as you're putting in. You could solve this by having some sort of passive system, I suppose, like if you hooked it up to a tidal machine or something like that, but then you're getting so much more power from that than you're going to get from the cones. Probably this is going to end up being more like a lab experiment than anything. It's going to end up being something that eccentric people will engage in just for their own amusement. I don't think that it's going to get beyond that. Could be wrong. I mean, maybe I should be investing in salt stocks right now. Green Text Pro. Hey, Clankers, want to win free Sticks books, free coffee, free meat, free Sticks mugs? We are giving away prizes to our top posters on clankers.net. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Clank. Yeah. I, too, would love to have a car powered by cones of ice. And apparently they're about the size of a peppercorn or something like that. I just thought that was fascinating. That's sort of like, I just wanted to bring that up because I don't just want to do politics. And right now, the news cycle is Charlie Kirk, basically. Oh, and Orange Man Bad, of course. Yeah, they never get off of that one. KLCB Soft, ahoy! Captain heard Pam Bondi talk she was going about after hate speech. You think she'll abuse the term like politicians here in Europe to castrate the first? Yeah, which is why I oppose it. I don't give a shit if I generally support the president and many members of his cabinet. That doesn't mean I have to support Pam Bondi's statements here. I'm completely wrong. Yeah, we're going to build ice cars. Apparently, the concept is that it would work well in frigid conditions, but the thing is, if you're going to need to have an array that big, what are you actually going to do with it? You know, this football field is capable of very slowly powering your EV. That's not going to work, dude. King of Biltong. Did you know we also specialize in imported foods? Check out the updates to Biltong USA for a great selection of food items and, of course, Biltong. BiltongUSA.com. Code STICKS for 10% off. Biltong. Oh, yeah, I'm going to actually copy that link, and I'm going to go and see. And I might want a couple of things. Anton, maybe. I get spoiled. Yeah, that Wagyu's great in the soup, and the Cabanassi and the Angus sticks are perfect for, like, hiking and shit. That's what I'm talking about. Moskvich, I want a Biltong-powered car. That would be fun. It'd smell good. Publishers Clearinghouse bankruptcy. Yes, indeed. Forever winners are no longer going to get paid, so if you won the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes, there's going to be a pause there while they try to reorient, assuming they are successful at all. So people who decided to adjust their finances, as people tend to do when they have a much higher income, are left behind because now all of a sudden they've been living high on the hog with their $5,000 a week for life. But now they're not living high on the hog anymore. They didn't get their, apparently at the beginning of the year, they didn't get their checks. Personally, I hate Publishers Clearinghouse, and I wish them the worst. I hope that they go completely under. I just hope that the people that did win, inexplicably, because the odds are always very low with such a thing, I hope that they get some compensation. They should sue or something like that, have a class action against them. Publishers Clearinghouse was always bullshit, and it's basically like they would send you mailers, and they had like scratch-off things and all sorts of other crap, and occasionally somebody would win. And then they had that famous thing where they would send the van directly to the people's home and present them with a giant check and stuff like that. But most people that participated never got anything, and some people went fucking bankrupt as a result of this. And even the winners, it looks like, mostly will probably go bankrupt. This happens with the lottery, too. Somebody will win like 10 million bucks. And so they think, well, I can buy $10 million worth of stuff. I mean, we're assuming the 10 million is after taxes, which are very high on lottery proceeds, by the way. I believe it exceeds 50%. So let's say they get 10 million after taxes, just 10 million lump sum. What do? They go out and buy a $2 million home and a limousine, and they hire a butler, and they live high on the hog for a while the music is still playing, and then the music stops because they never invested any of it, and then they run out of money. They have to sell everything off and or go potentially bankrupt, and then they have to make do with far less. What you do, in any case, if you ever win the lottery, the first thing you should do is not sign the ticket. The second thing you should do is call an attorney who specializes in taxes and so forth. You should probably also talk to your accountant friend. And then you get things set up. And then invest most of that money, and, till you take a chip off of it, and, you can repair your home, get a new car, whatever you need to do, pay off the kids' college fund. But most of it should be invested. You can keep a little bit aside for a rainy day and maybe go on a nice vacation, but if you overspend, eventually the money runs out. Because you're not using that money to produce more money. That's the rich person's mindset is, take the money, don't spend it, use it to make more. That's what you should do. Or you can just party hardy for a few years and blow 10 million bucks. It is possible to do that. So, good riddance. Funny story. When I was a kid, at a fairly early age, I realized that Publishers Clearinghouse was a den of iniquity, that it was basically a scam, along with the lottery in general, scratch-off tickets, any form of gambling. I never do any of these things. I abhor it, actually, and think that it should be just excised from humanity. It's a penny poker or something like that. That's perfectly fine, betting with your friends, slap down $50, we're having game night. That is cool, actually. It's fun. And sometimes you got to know when to hold them, you got to know when to fold them, so to speak. You play competitive chess with one of your friends, and the winner gets the pile or something like that. That's fun. Organized lotteries and stuff like that are nothing more than gangland America bullshit, and the house always wins. But one time when I was a little kid, Publishers Clearinghouse sent their mail, and I already knew that there was a scam. So I actually started writing a letter to Publishers Clearinghouse, calling them out and saying that they were terrible people and to leave my parents alone. I got most of the way through it. My mom read it and she's like, "Oh no, Tarl, don't send that in." That was fun. I was always a weird kid. Always a little bit odd. Thankfully. It's the secret to my power. Kentamitsu. Never actually seen a hammer on this channel. Fake news. Oh, yeah, that's right. I did have a subscriber that said he wanted to send me like a mini Warhammer, actually, at one point. But he never got back to me, so I don't know if that was ever made. Yeah, I don't know. I can just take any hammer, but I've got a nice big sledgehammer out in the garage. I'd hang it up on the wall, but it's so heavy that it'd probably rip a chunk of the wall out, so yeah, it'd be a problem. Yeah, the lottery is something that everyone should avoid. You can get addicted to gambling pretty easily, number one. You're probably not actually going to get your lucky money, number two. And if you do, unless you are very well prepared and know what to do, you'll probably lose it all anyway. Yeah, you'll enjoy some happy years, in your bungalow with your private swimming pool until you realize how high the taxes are on them. This happens more often than not. This has happened to, I think, more than 50% of the people that win big on the lottery. Ross M. My uncle calls the lottery stupidity tax. True. It's like it's one thing if you just want to get a couple of scratch-off tickets and you're like, what the fuck, whatever. I don't have anything else to buy with this 10 spot. And you just want to do it because it's amusing. That's a little bit different, but a lot of people that get heavily into gambling, and so they'll get their social security check. It's an old joke. You'll see a bunch of old folks once the social security checks have gone out, and there'll be just an army of old people at the slot machines just hammering away like fucking chimpanzees. Will Gooding, Sticks, did you see where they just discovered a new species of aster in Big Bend National Park in Texas? They are calling it the woolly devil, Ovicula biradiata. It is the only known species in this genus. Oh, excellent. Yeah, I'm going to look that up too. Anything botanical. Yeah, I'll look into that after the live stream. Beast mode the goat. I don't spend money on the lottery. I like Popeyes and weed. Yeah, I mean, I prefer not to spend money on frivolities. Like, I don't really like traveling. I don't really like eating out. I don't really like any of that sort of shit. If I'm going to invest a significant sum of money, it'll be in something productive, like gardening, for example. If you can grow all your own food, make all your own seedlings, create your own dirt from compost and stuff, you pretty much got it made. The eventual amount that you have to spend in order to upkeep it is fairly low, as long as you build it properly. My garden needs a lot of rehabilitation. Thankfully, the soil is still relatively good. Tigo Pereira Santos Silva. Hi from Portugal. Hello, my friend. The Gunslinger. Got told I'm being let go on the 30th. Screw it in. I'm going to buy a mic and start reading the news like you, Sticks. You're one of my inspirations. Hey, you might make it. You never know. Kind of a flooded market at this point, but yeah, it's possible. Who would have thought that somebody who looks like me would have a face for video? I mean, I don't, but apparently people don't mind it too much. ABC XYZ. Most people don't understand 1 in 292 million odds. Exactly. I mean, there's always that magical chance that you're actually the one that got the golden ticket, but it's not particularly likely. Yeah, LMAO weed, man. We've gone off the rails. Oh, I wanted to look at okay, let me grab this archive really quick so that I can get that. Yeah, I always love it when I get news tips. It shaves a little bit off of my work. Did have a couple on RCP I thought earlier that I kind of wanted to cover, but ran out of room. Normally, I try to keep it to between 5 and 7 on a live docket, and then of course I need 4 more for the daily videos. But I'll look into the Aster and also this apparent pedophile. Yeah, yeah. This really helps the left's case, by the way, when the person who apparently did legitimately try to distract the police and people at the time to let the shooter get away also had, illicit pictures on his phone. It's going to help your case come tomorrow once that news becomes more in the public consciousness. This is something, this sort of thing happens all the time. Again, nothing surprises me anymore. Charlie Kirk gets brained, well, not brained, but shot in the neck, and his, willing acolyte, I suppose, turns out to be a kitty diddler. Gerald Wagster, you are correct. Lard is actually good. Seed oils are not. With the exception of olive oil. Olive oil used in, Mediterranean foods and stuff like that also has health benefits. But people have become too reliant on like canola and palm. And of course, whenever I mention palm oil, I will mention that I love orangutans and they are being driven to extinction by palm oil farming because orangutans cannot exist in palm monoculture. There's nothing for them to eat. They spray them with caustic chemicals, and there are sad photos and videos of orangutans, basically pleading for help because they become diseased as a result of this. So, yeah. Now, I use olive oil or none at all. The only exception is I will reluctantly use canola oil for fried chicken or fried fish, but I don't make that often. I prefer making like stir fries and stuff like that. And I use butter, by the way, when I do that. Butter is my go-to for any time that I need to, fry something up. Butter. Which reminds me, happy times. It's funny, very mimetic too. This morning, my new tech exclusive was about childhood obesity. Apparently, almost 10% of all the kids worldwide are now obese. This is considerably higher than it used to be. And then I was talking about corn syrup, and then I got off on a tangent about how I loved corn on the cob. Well, we're having it tonight, and I am going to smear a shit ton of butter on it. Kirk W. Has anyone told you you sort of resemble Dave Windorf from the band Monster Magnet? You rock stick salute '07? No, they haven't actually. You're the first. Yeah, but nice stir fry. I usually make it vegetarian, but one time I did it with beef. It came out really good. But I think I'd rather make it with pork, actually. But you have to do it right. You take the pork and cut it up into little pieces and marinate the shit out of it until it literally changes color. But I don't know exactly how the Asian restaurants do it. I'll have to figure it out. Because that sounds delicious. Right now, I wish I had a platter of that. Then I'd be scarfing it down probably. David Ford, I ordered some of them mushroom extract pills. Are they good? How long do they take to get here? I'm anxious to try them. They are very good, and I do not know the shipping time actually. But yeah, they'll pep you up. They're also neuroregenerative. I'm thinking we should do a double-blind experiment where we hand out some of these mushroom extracts to people with brain damage and see what happens. Easter Sunday, I did a 90-day challenge where I gave up processed foods, processed sugars, and corn syrup. The excess weight fell off. I do have video proof to this. Yeah, it works. Yeah, cutting corn syrup out of your diet is a little bit difficult unless you unless you're just eating nothing but the unprocessed meat and or possibly some dairy products. Some of those have corn syrup in them too, which is absolutely maniacal. And then lots of fresh fruits and veggies. King of Biltong is recommending put some bovite on the corn. I will try it on the corn. Tarred and feathered. Mushrooms help sticks come up with nutty Norman. Yeah, not the psychotropic ones, but yeah, I mean, it gives me greater focus. I feel more energetic now. I feel better, basically. My mind seems to work better as well. Like before, I was having like anxiety and stuff, but it appears to be neuroregenerative. I'm not surprised. Mushrooms are fascinating things. Maybe I've got like mycelium in my brain at this point. I come on the next live stream, there's a mushroom growing out of my forehead. And I'm like, don't worry, that's just my babies coming. That would be funny. That would be pretty amazing. I got mushrooms in my brain, man. They're taking over, man. Alright, so we got those two. Yeah, we can just bant about anything that's brought up. It's all good. Yeah, which ones does the Brain 2 have again? It has Lion's Mane, Cordyceps M, Reishi, and Oyster, and I think I still have one of the Radiant Energies here too. Yeah. And this one is Cordyceps, Reishi, and Shaga, actually. I usually take 2 different varieties each morning. And sometimes I take one in the morning, then I take one during the live stream or right before it. Kathleen Green, use cornstarch in your marinades to tenderize pork. Oh, well, I could try. Yeah, I want to make the pork very tender and very, very sweet, because that's the way to do it in a stir fry. BW, chicken! Yeah, chicken Asian style is pretty good too. Like I used to get the Mugu Gai Pan actually at the Kong Chow back when it existed, way back in the day. That was when I was in fucking high school and shit. And really, really, really good. I don't know exactly how they prepared the chicken though. I know they took the breast and they sliced it into semi-thin strips and then added it to the marinade. But I don't know if they marinated it beforehand before cooking, or if they simply cooked it in with the sauce with the vegetables. I'm not 100% sure. But I really, really liked it. I wish I could have it again. But no! The property decided to raise the rent and they got priced out. And then the next Kong Chow was still pretty good because they retained most of the recipes. It was a Vietnamese couple that ran it. And it was pretty good. It was kind of bleak, and they set up like a TV. So instead of having like the Asian music relaxing in the background, they like set up a TV, and it was more like an Asian sports bar sort of feel. So they didn't last long. And then it became carry out only because of lockdownerism, and that folded. And then finally it became an Asian market, and that's what it is now. But they do have some good stuff there. Viking Woman 1988. I have to eat corn on the cob without butter, or someone will think I was genetically created to clear a room by the Germans. Now, I love smearing with an enormous amount of butter. And by the way, which way do you eat corn on the cob? Because I've seen both. There's 3 of them. Sometimes people cut the kernels off the corn, put them in a bowl, they eat it that way. Sometimes people will munch and they'll rotate it like this vertically. And then some people do the typewriter method horizontally. I'm wondering what other people do. I do the typewriter method myself. I will munch from one end of the cob to the other, then you move it a little bit, and you munch, and you do it that way. And it's fun. It's delicious. I can't wait. I think most people do the typewriter, but I'm not sure. My mom always cuts the kernels off and puts them in a bowl. It's still corn, it doesn't matter, it's just I find it funny. 359 Cuban, typewriter. That's what I'm talking about. Also, it's fun. Especially when you're a kid, you're like, munch, 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 ding, munch, munch, munch. You make the typewriter sound. Or at least I did. Most kids these days, they don't know what a typewriter is. I actually had one as a kid. Thought it was fun. ABCXYZ, Paul Stamets has a potent mushroom supplement. Yeah, mushrooms, man. That's what I'm talking about. Mobile infantry, Destiny eats it the long way. Yeah, by shoving it up his ass. Fucking moron. He's attention whoring it up right now. He's having a good time. I don't think that his detractors, though, quite understand something. When you're an acerbic nerd cuck, who apparently has other weird fantasies that I won't even bother mentioning, any attention is good attention. You know, he's going to keep getting the left-wing brownie points and the left-wing cash from DNC-related groups, no matter what he says. So he can just mouth off. He knows where he's getting his next paycheck from. Yeah, he wants to shove a cob of corn in his throat and then poop it back out. He wishes that he was physically capable of doing this. Connie Dan. Wait, what? In Cali, they do mayo, parmesan, and paprika on the cob. For me, it's all butter. That sounds disgusting. I know down in southern Texas, they sell corn on the cob from ice cream trucks, actually, and it's smeared with chili sauce. And I tried it once. It was actually pretty good. I found it hilarious when I saw that, because I never thought that... I guess the idea is if you're eating spicy foods and you're sweating and stuff, that it makes the air feel less hot or something. I think that's the reason why. But the taste is pretty good. Rockout Blackout. My BMI is 642. I am the moon. Yeah. There are some things in which I don't like corn. Like, when people make a veggie soup, I really don't like adding corn to it. Also, rice. I never understood rice in soup for the most part. Unless it's that long grain black rice that they grow in Canada, and it's in a chicken noodle or something. I mean, well, chicken and rice. Other than that, I don't really like putting rice in soups. Xantol, apropos of nothing, but one of my friends is a teacher, and he just told me the kids born after 2020 have almost no social skills and are nightmares. God help us all. Yeah, I predicted this. Hate to use that term yet again, but yeah, it was predictable. No shit. The kids aren't allowed to form meaningful friendships. They're not allowed to go outside and play. They're not allowed to do jack shit. Also, you can't get any healthy food to feed your kids because all the smaller shops, they've been forcibly closed. So you're going to have to get your food at Walmart. It'll be nutritious and shit. We've got frozen burgers. That's why I was glad that during peak lockdown I was in the Netherlands. I was extremely glad when I saw and when I heard from other people what the fuck was going on in the United States. I was like, God damn, I'm glad to be in Europe at the moment. Netherlands had one of the most lax lockdownerist policies of all. There basically was none. For a few days, they closed up certain shops. And that was basically it. Then they had a mask mandate that few people bothered to listen to. Social distancing rules that were never enforced. And so nobody really cared. It was fun. Let me tell you. When I got back to the Netherlands, when I went there that February, this was, what was it, 2022, I think. In February, when I went to the United States briefly to visit my family, and then I came back. And it had snowed like a half an inch, and it looked like The Walking Dead. Oh, that was hilarious fun. I loved that. Because the Dutch cannot drive on snow. Any more than people from Georgia. You remember that time that they had that storm down in Atlanta, which amounted to like an inch and a half, and then they had The Walking Dead theme plastered over it. Yeah, there was like a partial kind of sort of lockdown for like 2 days in the Netherlands, and that's literally all that happened. Everything else was like basically nobody cared. And then there's that famous image imprinted in my mind. I can describe the woman's face because I was so taken aback. It's like imprinted on my brain. This woman, probably about 20 years old, she's got her mask down outside of one of the shops and she's smoking a cigarette. So you're obeying the mask mandate, but you're also giving yourself cancer. Wow, what an intelligent individual. Yeah, Destiny likes a game of cornhole. He loves it when people fuck his wife. Or girlfriend, or whatever the fuck. Turtles Toy Box. Yes, I did get a driver's license. Had a Mercedes-Benz, actually, when I was over there. That thing rode like a cloud. Will Gooding, Sticks, did you see where Trump just filed a $15 billion lawsuit against the New York Times for defamation? Also, I heard rumors that Erica Kirk was considering suing Stephen King for defamation as well. I hope that she does. That would be good. And, yeah, I don't know how far his case will go, though, because the New York Times is really slippery. We'll see what happens. We'll have to see the details of the filings and the case in general. Aaron, your viewership is declining. No, I've gained 2,000 subscribers in the last week, actually. Yeah, the Mercedes-Benz, I mean, it was an older model, but I really, really liked it, actually. It's just, it was not worth it to import it to the United States. It wouldn't make any sense. You'd pay more than the value of the car, probably, to be able to actually do it. So I just, it's like, fuck. It was nice, though. I'm gonna say it didn't have as good of sound as the Avalon had, though. Crow Minion. Old Benzes were like freaking tanks. You shut the door and it sounded like a vault. Yeah, and it was really nice too. Had nice comfy seats. BW. Now, I do not believe that Luigi Mangione will get off. I mean, he'll get off when, Bubba's in front of him because he'll have no choice. Other than that, no, I think that he'll be found guilty of most, if not all, of the charges. And then there's the federal case separately. What I'm just questioning is why they bothered to drop it when they know, like, the federal case is still there. I would think they would want to nail him on the first-degree murder charge right away and simply throw the book at him and preempt the federal government at that point. Yeah, they dropped the top two charges, but that's because the federal courts are handling that, I guess. But I don't see why wait for the federal court system, which is even slower, when the state court system can just handle it themselves. I didn't understand exactly why that was necessary. I mean, the judge invoked the concept that his actions weren't defined as terrorism under New York state law. But that's, again, for reasons I explained, that's really a stretch. That's like saying, he went after the pharmaceutical guy because he hated pharmaceutical companies in the medical industry. Okay, but that's not designed to cause terror in the population. Okay, well, let's say again that I go out and I kill a couple of Sikh individuals. But there's no threat to anyone else because I'm just mad at Sikh people for some reason. Okay, so it's not terrorism. I wasn't terrorizing the population, only a part of it. That's basically what it boils down to. It's stupid. Serge Lachance, what are Luigi's political beliefs? Never heard much about that. We can assume that he's anti-pharmaceutical, so that actually doesn't really give us an indicator at all. We wouldn't know. I noticed that it's mostly people on the left that are saying free Luigi right now. But it might turn out that he's not really in line with them and just hated pharmaceutical corporations. But that's the thing. Plenty of people on the right and plenty of independents like myself also hate them. I know that I do. Sickness. Sticks should be rolling in a pimped out Lincoln. That would be hilarious. Lincoln Town Car. Yeah, my favorite is if I could choose only one vehicle, it would be an old military style two-door Jeep. That's what I would use as my transportation. Patch Christ. Mercedes are supposedly a pain to fix. If you're in the US, yes. Getting parts for them is going to be a hassle. But I was right on the border with Germany, so over there, it's a totally different world. I mean, there are plenty of things, by the way, that I miss about the Netherlands. Oddly enough, certain kinds of food are dirt cheap compared to the United States at last check. Dairy products, especially, like, it floods in like rivers. The Dutch love their cheese. From all over Europe, by the way. I've never seen so many varieties before. Not even in large cities in the United States. Like, I've been to New York, I've been to New Orleans, and so forth. I've never seen anything even closely approximating it. It's like, here's the cheese aisle. It's like, 10,000 versions of cheese. Which is great for a person like me because dairy is my friend. Helps my digestion. Tarred and feathered. Can't drive an old Jeep if you can't drive a stick. Well, yeah, you can have it converted, actually, if you want. Or you can get a two-door newer Jeep and just paint it military drab. That would be fun. Have the Stick, Sex, and Hammer logo. Have the Ouroboros and the crescent moon on the front hood. Anyways, I think I'm going to go offline here because I do have to dock at a little more news. I got a couple of stories. Thank you very much for those sending me tips. You can always send them on Sticks666official over on Twitter. And of course, I'll be back tomorrow with yet another live stream and much more madness and sadness. Later on, I'm going to do some editing, but I need to get to Oregon Trail 2 and, I don't know, maybe putter around in the garden a little bit. I want to water my peach tree again because it doesn't look like we're going to get rain for the foreseeable future, and I really want those fucking peaches. It's very, very important to me because, trust me, those are the best peaches in the world. That's about all. Peace out.